All right, y'all, we back with another reaction right here on ABP Reactions, and this one is called How Yo Gotti Made $500 Million Finessing New Rappers. Come on, man. Finessing? Yo Gotti put that work in. His roster is incredible. Stop playing.
In the last 5 years, one name has dominated conversations about music industry power plays, Yo Gotti. His label, CMG, Collective Music Group,
CMG.
has launched careers, broken streaming records, and built what insiders estimate to be a $500 million empire.
Going crazy.
But alongside the success stories, rumors have circulated. Whispers about exploitative contracts, allegations of artists being finessed, claims that Gotti built his fortune by taking advantage of young, hungry rappers who didn't know any better. But here's what nobody's doing: actually investigating these claims, actually looking at the contracts, the numbers, the artist's own words, actually comparing CMG's deals to industry standards.
Man, look at this, man. He done turned every artist up on here. All right, we gonna keep watching. But finessing them is crazy because everybody who got with CMG popped hard, popped off.
So that's exactly what we're doing today. How did Mario Mims go from the streets of North Memphis
We gonna
to
figure it
becoming
out,
one
though,
of
y'all.
hip-hop's most powerful executives, and whether the rumors about how he runs his label is true? By the end of this video, you'll have the facts. You'll understand how he finessed gullible young artists and milked them for millions. And you'll be able to decide for yourself, is Yo Gotti a predatory label boss? Or is he just better at business than everyone else? To understand whether Yo Gotti is exploiting artists today, we need to understand where he came from. Because his origin story isn't just background.
Get these allegations off Gotti, man.
For everything that came after. Mario Mims was born May 19, 1981 in North Memphis, Tennessee. Not the nice part of Memphis, not the tourist areas where people visit Graceland and eat barbecue. North Memphis, specifically the Ridgecrest Apartments in the Fraser neighborhood, one of the most dangerous housing projects in one of America's most violent cities. His family wasn't just struggling, they were deep in the streets. His mother, Jerry, was involved in hustling. His father did prison time. His brother Anthony did prison time. This wasn't a family trying to escape the streets. This was a family where the streets were the only economy they knew. In interviews, Gotti has talked about what it was like growing up in that environment. He tells a story about going to get a popsicle from the deep freezer as a kid and finding stacks of money hidden there. That was normal in his house. Money came from the streets. Money got hidden in creative places.
Hey, man, he was inspired by his family, man, by his mom and pops, niggas. Told him to get that chili, get that cheddar at a young age, and that's what he's doing. Now, I would think, hear me out, I would think that people would come out and, if this was real allegations, you know, like with Birdman, we saw Lil Wayne come out like, hey, you owe me money. Everybody was talking about you owe me money, you know what I mean? But I haven't seen that. I can't say I've seen that thus far. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, if y'all seen somebody from the past CMG come out and say Yo Gotti was finessing them or played them. Let me know.
And everybody understood that this was how you survived. But here's the important part, and this is where understanding his background matters for our investigation. Gotti didn't see hustling as a permanent lifestyle. He saw it as a means to an end. He was always looking for the exit strategy, always thinking about legitimate business, always planning for something bigger. At 14 years old, he started rapping under the name Lil Yo. And in his own words, it wasn't because he loved hip-hop culture or had a burning artistic vision. It was because he saw Skinny Pimp, a local Memphis rapper, driving a drop-top 5.0 Mustang and thought that man got money from rapping. That's a crucial insight into his mindset. From day one, Gotti viewed rap as a business opportunity, not just an art form. Most rappers start because they love music. Gotti started because he saw a path to legitimate wealth. In 1996, at 15 years old, he released his first mixtape, Youngsters on a Come Up. He wasn't signed to a label. He didn't have industry connections. He was selling tapes out of his car trunk, putting them in record stores on consignment, building a customer base one transaction at a time. This is the first piece of evidence that contradicts the narrative that Gotti doesn't understand the artist's struggle. He lived it. He was an independent artist before that term became trendy. He understood every aspect of the hustle because he had to. There was no other option. By his early 20s, Gotti was juggling two worlds. He was still in the streets, still making money the way his family had always made money. But he was also building a rap career, releasing independent albums, touring regionally, slowly expanding his reach beyond Memphis. And this is where the real education began. If you want to understand how Yo Gotti operates CMG today, you have to understand the education he received. and the expensive lessons he learned in the 2000s.
All right, break it down for us right now. We finna learn. At the end of this, I want to know, do y'all think Yo Gotti is right? Yo Gotti is wrong? I'm going to just make an early prediction and say, hey, man, I haven't seen nobody complain about him. And everybody that I've seen him touch as far as pick up and put on CMG all became bosses who once, we didn't know who they were. Now, there was a situation where Mozzie already had motion. He signed Mozzie, but Mozzie ain't complaining about him. It was a one-album deal. He was happy with him. I don't think nobody was mad at CMG. Now, his earlier artists, I forgot what their name was, Snooty Wild, I think, back in the day and all that. I don't know. That's a different, I can't remember if they were happy with CMG or not. But the newer artists, they don't complain. I haven't seen them complain.
First, there was Cash Money Records. Gotti spent significant time around Birdman and the Cash Money operation in the late 90s and early 2000s. He wasn't signed to them, but he was close enough to see how they operated, and what he saw changed his understanding of what was possible. In interviews, Gotti talks about going to Birdman's house and seeing 15 to 20 luxury cars in the driveway. Not one or two, 15 to 20. That wasn't artist money. That was executive money. That was ownership money. That was the kind of wealth that comes from owning masters, controlling publishing, building a machine that makes money whether you're in the studio or not. He studied Cash Money's model: sign artists cheap, develop them, own everything, profit from their success. It wasn't exploitative in Cash Money's eyes, it was business. They took unknowns and made them superstars.
Facts.
The artists made more money than they ever would have independently.
Facts.
Everyone won. But Gotti didn't just study Cash Money. He studied every hip-hop mogul he could. Jay-Z's transition from artist to Rockefeller executive to Def Jam president. Master P's No Limit empire and distribution deals. Jay Prince's Rap-A-Lot records and reputation for protecting his artists. Russell Simmons and Def Jam's blueprint for building a cultural empire beyond music. In his words, I watched everybody's story, where they went up, where they fell. That last part is crucial. He wasn't just studying success, he was studying failure. He was learning what mistakes to avoid, what deals to pass on, what moves lead to wealth.
That's what you gotta do, man. That's what's dope about being an intern. That's why people should never look at being an intern like, ugh. Like, you learn. You get to study somebody who's successful. You get to watch the mistakes, the moves they make that are correct, and you get to watch the moves they make that are wrong. You get to watch where they messed up, where they made the right moves, where they fumbled, and you get to learn. And you could implement that into your journey as an executive, as a boss, or whatever that position is that you're trailing this man for, you know what I'm saying, to be. So ain't nothing wrong with being an intern, man. Go, not saying you gotta be an intern your whole life, but at least go learn some game, get your foot in the door.
And what moves lead to bankruptcy and lawsuits. And then came his own expensive education. In the mid-2000s, Gotti signed with TVT Records. TVT was an independent label that had success with acts like Lil Jon and the Yin Yang Twins. For Gotti, it seemed like the break he'd been working toward, a legitimate label deal, industry resources, national distribution. But the deal was terrible. The specific terms have never been fully disclosed, but Gotti has said in interviews that he got $40,000 up front.
And that's it.
$40,000 for signing away his masters,
that's it.
His publishing, his merchandising.
Damn.
That's a 360 deal where the artist got almost nothing and the label got everything. By the time he realized how bad the deal was, he was locked in. TVT owned his music. They controlled his release schedule. They took the majority of profits from everything he did.
Wow.
He was, in his own words, trapped.
That's crazy.
So he did what most artists can't afford to do. He bought himself out. He paid $450,000 TVT dollars to get out of the deal and reclaim control of his career. Think about that math. He got $40,000, then had to pay $450,000 to escape. He took a $410,000 loss just to regain his freedom. Most artists would be bitter. Most artists would spend the rest of their career complaining about how the industry did them dirty, how labels are evil, how they got exploited. Gotti didn't do that. In interviews, he's remarkably philosophical about the experience. I ain't the type to make excuses and be whining. I made a bad deal. I didn't understand the business. That's on me. This response is important for our investigation. It shows a mindset focused on learning rather than blaming. He didn't say the industry was out to get him. He said he didn't understand the game well enough, and he took responsibility for that. But the TVT deal wasn't his only expensive lesson. Around the same time, he was learning about taxes and asset management the hard way. Gotti had been buying real estate, 10 to 15 houses in Memphis. On paper, that looked like smart
There you
investing.
go.
Build a portfolio, generate rental income, diversify beyond music. But he didn't fully understand property taxes, maintenance costs, the cash flow required to manage that many properties. When tax season came,
Expensive, expensive, expensive. But hey, this is dope, man. Watching Yo Gotti's, this is tight. I love watching people's backstories and learning how did they get in this position and where did they come from. You know what I mean? Like they said, Yo Gotti studied Russell Simmons. He studied Jay-Z. He studied Master P. You got to study the motherfuckers in these positions, man, if you want to get there one day and learn, okay, what was his journey like? And that way I could implement, if I'm on the same path, what I could take from it, what I could subtract from it, and what I could bring to the table, you know what I mean, to make me better. So it's free game for y'all. Any of y'all watching that want to be industry executives, here you go.
he got hit with bills he wasn't prepared for. He had assets, but not enough liquidity. He had to sell properties, sometimes at a loss, just to cover his tax obligations. Again, most people would be bitter about this. They'd blame their accountant, blame the system, complain about how nobody explained this to them. Gotti saw it differently. I didn't educate myself. I jumped into real estate without understanding the full picture. That's a lesson I'll never forget. Do you see the pattern here? Every setback becomes education.
Yeah.
Every loss becomes preparation for the next opportunity. He's not making excuses. He's learning the game at the most fundamental level. By the late 2000s, Gotti had the complete picture. He understood how labels worked because he'd been on the wrong end of a label deal.
Learn from his mistakes.
He understood how important ownership was because he'd had to buy his freedom back. He understood cash flow and business management because he'd been burned by his real estate investments.
Now, what I want to see here is, obviously, Gotti bounced back. He learned from his mistakes. He doesn't, complain about spilled milk. But I want to see here is he the CEO that says, hey, I'm going to put you in this type of deal because when I didn't know no better, I was taking these type of deals, so I'm not going to fuck you over. I'm going to make sure your deal is straight so that you can become a boss and you can leave here happy with the business we did because I was mad at the business that I did back in the day with these people and I didn't know no better. Is he one of those bosses that's going to help you and also teach you the game? Or is he going to, just extort you, get the money up out you? I don't think so. Let's see.
He understood the importance of education because his lack of education had cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the foundation of CMG,
Child Mazi.
not exploitation, not predatory contracts, but a comprehensive understanding of how the music business actually works, learned through painful, expensive, personal experience. In 2012, Yo Gotti launched Collective Music Group. Originally, he called it Cocaine Music Group, a reference to his street background and the Memphis drug culture that influenced his music. But before he could really build the label, he got some crucial advice. 50 Cent, who had built G-Unit Records and understood the intersection of street credibility and corporate business, told him, "You're going to scare corporate people with that name. You want to do business with major labels, with brands, with sponsors. They can't work with something called Cocaine Music Group." So Gotti changed it to Collective Music Group. Same initials, completely different connotation. Instead of glorifying drugs, it suggested unity, collaboration, a group of artists working together. That rebrand was his first major move as a label executive, and it showed he was willing to adapt for business success. But here's where our investigation needs to get into the specifics. How does CMG actually operate? What do the contracts look like? How does Gotti find artists, develop them, and structure deals? Let's start with the partnership model. CMG isn't a fully independent label.
All right, here we go, y'all. We finna learn what these contracts look like. And this will help you better with your judgment at the end when I ask you, do y'all think Yo Gotti was taking advantage of these artists or was he bossing these artists up? So pay attention.
It has partnership deals with major labels. Initially, they partnered with Epic Records. Later, they partnered with Interscope, which is part of Universal Music Group, one of the 3 major label conglomerates. This structure is crucial for understanding the business model. CMG acts as a boutique label that finds and develops talent, while the major label partner provides distribution, marketing budgets, radio promotion, and access to major infrastructure. The profits and ownership get split according to whatever deal Gotti negotiated with the major label. But what about the artists? This is where the rumors start to fly, and this is where we need to look at actual evidence rather than speculation. The primary accusation is that Gotti signs artists to exploitative 360 deals, contracts where the label gets a percentage of everything the artist makes: music sales, streaming, concerts, merchandising, endorsements, everything. Before we can evaluate whether this is true, we need to understand what a 360 deal actually is and why they exist.
All right, y'all always use the term 360 deals. A lot of people just say it, but they don't understand what it is. And, you know, it's a very trendy thing to say. Oh, you're in a 360 deal, you're in a 360 deal. But a lot of y'all don't know what it means. So he's gonna break it down right here for those who don't know. So now when you say it, you will understand it like, damn, hold on. 360 deal is worse than what I thought. Because some of y'all just thinking, oh, they're taking all your money. Nah. Watch the breakdown.
360 deals emerged in the mid-2000s when music sales collapsed due to piracy and digital distribution. Labels used to make all their money from album sales, but suddenly nobody was buying albums anymore. So labels said, we're investing hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in developing artists, but we can only recoup from music sales, which have dropped 70%. We need to recoup from all revenue streams or we can't afford to invest in new artists. From the label's perspective, it's a risk management strategy. From the artist's perspective, it feels like the label is taking a cut of everything they do. But here's the thing, not all 360 deals are the same.
Nope.
Some are genuinely exploitative. The label takes 20 to 30% of everything in perpetuity. Others are structured more fairly, smaller percentages, sunset clauses, or provisions that allow the artist to buy out certain rights once they recoup. So what kind of deals is Gotti offering? To answer this, we need to look at what artists have actually said about their CMG contracts.
Here we go. This is what I'm saying. I don't recall any artists saying they was in fucked up deals, but let's watch.
Let's start with the most successful CMG artist, Moneybagg Yo. Moneybagg Yo has been with CMG since 2016. In the years since, he's become one of the biggest artists in hip-hop.
Yes,
Multiple
he has.
platinum albums,
Doing his
billions
thing.
of streams.
Shout out
headline
Moneybagg
tours.
Yo.
He's been on CMG for almost a decade now. If the contracts were as bad as the rumors suggest, why hasn't Moneybagg Yo left? Why hasn't he publicly complained?
Right.
Why does he consistently praise Gotti in interviews? In a 2021 interview, Moneybagg addressed this directly. Gotti gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. Could I have made it on my own? Maybe. But he gave me resources, connections, guidance that I didn't have, and he's been straight with me from day one about what the deal was.
There we go. That's a good sign right there, man. Nothing to complain about.
That last part is important. Straight with me from day one about what the deal was. That suggests transparency, not deception. But let's look at GloRilla, a more recent signing that's been subject to even more scrutiny. GloRilla signed to CMG in 2022 after her song FNF went viral.
Shout out FNF, you know what I'm saying? Put out by us, Black Noise. Shout out to my boy. Shout out to my boys. Shout out to my boys.
The rumor mill immediately started. She signed a bad deal. Gotti swooped in while she was hot and locked her into a terrible contract. She's going to regret it. But what actually happened? According to multiple reports, GloRilla received a $500,000 signing bonus, $500,000 up front before she'd even proven she could have a second hit. That's not an exploitative deal. That's a massive investment in an unproven artist. Since signing, GloRilla has had multiple successful singles, collaborations with major artists, and strong streaming numbers. CMG has invested heavily in her marketing, music videos, and career development. More importantly, GloRilla herself has addressed the contract rumors. In interviews and on social media, she's consistently said that she's happy with her deal, that Gotti has been supportive, and that she has no regrets about signing.
What I can say is GloRilla is, because we saw her from the start, obviously, when we signed the FNF record, from the bottom to where she is at now in the short amount of time to be one of the top female rappers out right now, most in-demand rappers out right now. That says a lot about Yo Gotti and knowing, and his team, CMG, knowing what they're doing with artists. To take somebody from the ground up, and in 3 years, turn them up into this level That's tight.
Could she be lying? Could she be contractually obligated to say positive things about the label? Theoretically, yes. But there's no evidence of that. And artists who genuinely feel exploited usually find ways to make that known, even if they can't speak about it directly. Let's look at 42 Dugg, another CMG artist with an interesting deal structure. 42 Dugg is jointly signed to CMG and Lil Baby's label, 4PF. This is actually a brilliant business move by Gotti. Instead of competing with Lil Baby for 42 Dugg, they partnered. Both labels invest, both labels profit, and 42 Dugg gets support from two successful artists turned executives.
I ain't gonna lie, 42 Dugg, he was on a run. He was on a cold run. He was doing his thing, going crazy. But then jail, man. You know, the lifestyle, you got in trouble. The lifestyle happened, man, so I don't know.
In interviews, 42 Dugg has said, "I got two big brothers looking out for me. That's better than being on my own or being with some label executive who don't understand where I'm coming from." This brings us to one of Gotti's key business philosophies, and it's one that actually contradicts the narrative that he's just another exploitative label boss. In multiple interviews, Gotti has said, "I'm an artist first, so I understand artists in a way most executives can't."
Yeah.
That's not just a platitude. It's reflected in how CMG operates.
And that goes back to what I'm saying. Like, since he was an artist, is he going to give these artists the type of deals that he didn't get, that he had to learn from? Like, what type of deal are you finna give him? And I would say, based off my assumptions on how these artists appreciate Gotti, how they always show love to Gotti, that he made sure y'all didn't get the same type of fucked up deals I had to experience. I'm gonna make sure y'all bosses. And that's what I see with Yo Gotti. Every artist he signs, them niggas look like bosses, nigga. Now, whether they go and create a label and sign other artists, that's on them. But he makes sure you look the part and you live up to what you think a rap artist is and a CMG rap artist is. You look like money. You got iced out jewelry, fly cars, bad bitches. Your entourage is iced out. Like, y'all look the part.
According to people who've worked with the label, Gotti has an open table policy where anyone on the team can suggest talent. He studies each artist as a separate business, recognizing that what works for one artist might not work for another. When he signs an artist, he hires 2 to 3 new staff members specifically to support that artist's career. That level of individualized attention is unusual in the music industry. Most labels sign artists and expect them to fit into the label's existing infrastructure. Gotti builds infrastructure around each artist's specific needs.
Come on, man.
But perhaps most importantly, Gotti emphasizes financial literacy and business education from day one. This is where the accusation of finessing really falls apart.
Come on, man. God damn it. I want to sign a CMG now. He creating bosses, bro. Teaching you the game, the infrastructure, teaching you the ins and outs, what to look for, where not to fuck up, where I fucked up. That's tight. That's what you want. That's what these labels don't offer you. These motherfuckers are just blood suckers. They're going to bring you in. They're going to give you a handshake and a smile, act like they love you, and then be like, get to work. Get to work. And if you don't get to work, they stop answering your calls. They stop answering your emails. They don't care about your demands. They don't care about nothing you got going unless you're making them money. And that's a fucked up thing, like, to be in a business deal with somebody like that. And a lot of artists are, bro. That's why you see these niggas not happy.
For trying to exploit artists, the last thing you'd want is for them to understand the business. You'd want them confused, dependent, unable to read their own contracts. But according to multiple sources, Gotti requires artists to get CPAS, Certified Public Accountants. He gives them business advice beyond just music. He explains how streaming royalties work, how publishing works, how they can build wealth beyond their advances. Why would he do this if his goal was to exploit them? It doesn't make sense. The answer is that his goal isn't exploitation, it's building a sustainable business where successful artists make the label successful, which makes everyone more money in the long run. Think about it from a pure business perspective. If you sign an artist to a terrible deal and they succeed despite the deal, They leave as soon as they can.
Right.
They badmouth you publicly.
Right.
They tell other artists not to sign with you.
Yep.
Your reputation suffers and it becomes harder to sign the next generation of talent. But if you sign artists to fair deals, invest in their success, and treat them well, they stay.
Case in point, that fucked up motherfucking situations, Cash Money. Now, it was a point where everybody wanted to be from Cash Money. Now, if you're from my area, you know that. Everybody named Mama, YMCMB, Young Money, Cash Money, everybody wanted to be from there. Then you start seeing artists come out and complain. When you saw Lil Wayne complain, that was it. That fucked up. Everybody was like, hell no, we'll never sign a Birdman. Yeah. So, you definitely want to be in good standings with your artists. You want people to leave happy when they do leave, if they ever want to leave. You know what I mean? Your deal may be so great, they're like, nigga, I ain't tripping. I'm here. I'm rocking with you, bro. Let's go. But sometimes niggas like, hey, man, we finna shake, go our separate ways. All right, cool. I got my shit out the situation. You got your shit. We happy campers. Nothing bad to say about each other. That's my brother. That's my brother. And that's what you want, man.
They bring other artists to you. Your reputation grows, and top talent wants to work with you. That's clearly the model Gotti is following. CMG's roster has grown every year. Artists aren't leaving in droves. Many of the label's artists have been there for 5+ years, which is rare in an industry where artist-label relationships typically last 1 to 2 albums before falling apart. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Where do the finessing accusations actually come from?
Haters.
If the evidence suggests
Haters.
Gotti runs a legitimate, successful label that treats artists fairly, why do the rumors persist? There are several sources, and we need to investigate each one honestly. The first source is a fundamental misunderstanding of how 360 deals work and why they exist. When Gotti talks publicly about 360 deals, he doesn't hide the fact that CMG uses them. In interviews, he's been very direct about his philosophy. What's 100% of zero? If you keep 100% but make nothing, you have nothing. But if you give me a percentage and I help you make millions, you're going to make more money than you ever would have on your own.
Yeah.
From a math perspective, this is objectively true. If an independent artist makes $50,000 a year keeping 100% of their revenue, but a signed artist makes $500,000 a year while the label takes 100% of their revenue, 30%, the signed artist still takes home $350,000, 7 times more than the independent artist. But the counter argument is, what if the artist would have made that $500,000 anyway, even without the label? Then the label is just taking 30% of something the artist created entirely on their own. This is where we need to look at actual case studies. Before signing to CMG, Moneybagg Yo had been grinding for years. He'd released multiple mixtapes, had a local following in Memphis but couldn't break through nationally. His streaming numbers were modest. He wasn't getting radio play. He wasn't booking major shows. After signing to CMG in 2016, his career trajectory completely changed. Within 2 years, he had his first Billboard Hot 100.
Who the hell was that? Who was that in that picture right there? I don't know. Maybe I missed something.
Hit. Within 4 years, he had a #1 album.
Boom.
By 2024, he'd sold millions of records
Boom.
and became one of the biggest names in Southern
Yeah,
hip-hop.
talk your shit, CMG.
Could he have done that without CMG? Possibly. But the timing suggests that CMG's resources, connections, and infrastructure
Sped that up.
played a significant role in his success. The same pattern appears with GloRilla.
Facts.
FNF was already viral when she signed, but CMG's marketing push turned one viral hit into a sustainable career. They got her features with Cardi B and other major artists. They funded high-budget music videos. They secured playlist placements and radio ads. Without CMG...
And she looked like a star out the gate. She looked like a star out the... Once, listen, I remember when they reached out, you know what I mean? They wanted to, we gonna get her, do our thing. We didn't sign GloRilla, you know what I mean? We didn't sign GloRilla. We had to produce her. You feel me? So it was his record, but she was featured on it, and there was all girls from, you know what I'm saying, from Memphis that he put on the record, and she blew up off of this shit, man. So it catapulted her, boom, into Yo Gotti's hands. And he was like, hey, we finna run this up, and they came with hits out the gate, back to back to back to back, hard videos, big features, and it catapulted her to where she is now, man.
GloRilla might have been a one-hit wonder. With CMG, she's building a lasting career. So when Gotti takes a percentage of their revenue, he's not taking a cut of something they would have made anyway. He's taking a cut of revenue that likely wouldn't exist without the label's investment. But let's be honest, not every label operates this way. Some labels do sign artists, take their percentage, and then do nothing to actually help the artist succeed. The artist ends up giving away a chunk of their revenue while getting no value in return. Is CMG doing that? The evidence suggests no. Artists who sign with CMG consistently see their careers grow. Streaming numbers increase. They get bigger features. They book larger tours. The label is providing tangible value that justifies their percentage. The second source of finessing accusations came from a specific incident with an artist named Plain James. In 2021, Plain James, a CMG signee, made allegations on social media that Gotti and the label had discriminated against him and weren't supporting his career properly.
I don't know who that is. Do y'all know who Plain James is? Let me know in the comment section. I don't know who Plain James is. I don't think it reached the West Coast, whoever he is.
He claimed he was being treated differently than other artists on the roster and that his releases were being delayed or blocked. This is a serious accusation, and we need to investigate it fairly. First, what actually happened? According to Plain James, he signed to CMG with certain expectations about support and promotion. He claims those expectations weren't met, and he felt sidelined in favor of other artists. From CMG's perspective, based on industry sources as they didn't comment publicly, Plain James's music wasn't performing well enough to justify the level of investment he was demanding. In the music business, labels allocate marketing budgets based on what they think will succeed. If an artist's first few releases underperform, the label typically scales back investment rather than throwing good money after bad.
Right. You don't want to be just wasting money and burning money. If all signs are showing this record's a dud, this record we thought was hot, a dud, this record we thought was hot, a dud, this record we thought was hot, a dud, and we invested $100,000, $100,000, $100,000. By the time you get to that fifth one, you're going to be like, all right, let's scale it back a little bit. We done burnt $400,000. Let's just put $50,000 into this one, and let's see if we can try something different, and let's see if it bubbled. Then we'll pump the other 50 into it. That makes sense in business, brother. Like, it don't make sense to keep bumping my head and keep putting the money and losing, and I'm not recouping nothing. And at the end of the day, you just like, oh, y'all know what y'all doing. Y'all didn't trust me. Like, bro, we just spent $500,000 on you. That's a lot of money, bro. A lot of money. $500,000 ain't easy. If it was, you could go in your bank account right now, and it'd be sitting right there. That's a lot of money.
Is that fair? From a pure business perspective, yes. From an artist perspective, it can feel like abandonment. But here's the key question for our investigation. Is this finessing? Is this exploitation? Or is this just the normal reality of the music business, where labels sign multiple artists, but only a few become stars and resources get allocated accordingly? Every major label has dozens or hundreds of artists who feel like they didn't get enough support. Every artist thinks their music deserves more investment than it receives. That's not unique to CMG. That's universal across the entire music industry.
Everybody.
The question is, did CMG do anything unethical or unusual? The evidence doesn't suggest they did. They signed an artist, released his music, saw that it wasn't connecting with audiences, and scaled back their investment.
They did everything that they were supposed to do. You can't get mad that your music isn't reacting. That's on you as an artist. That's the thing about this music shit. It's a gamble, bro. Like, there's no such thing as the perfect song. Like, you can't go in the studio and make the perfect song and it work. Like, you can do it, but if you get what I'm saying, you can't go in there and be like, this is a perfect song. This is going to be a top 10, 40 hit. Let me record it, put it out, and it works. That's rare. Some can when you got like the super hit makers. I'm talking about independent artists on the come up at home. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the big dogs, the big wigs. No, I'm talking about the independent. I just started rapping 6 months ago. I'm gonna go make the perfect record. That's impossible. So, that's on you. You got to go in there and make the record that people love, that people play again and want to hear again. All I can do is make sure I get in the right places. Now, if it don't react, blame the people.
That's standard operating procedure for every label in existence. Could CMG have communicated better with Plain James? Probably. Could they have managed expectations more clearly? Maybe. But poor communication isn't the same as exploitation. It's also worth noting that Plain James's accusations didn't lead to any legal action. No lawsuit was filed. No other artists came forward with similar complaints. The situation stayed at the level of social media venting and then faded away. If there was genuine contractual malfeasance, you'd expect legal action or a pattern of similar complaints from other artists. Neither happened. Source 3. Artist departures and label drama. The third source of accusations is the general perception that artists who leave CMG do so because they were unhappy with how they were treated. Let's examine this honestly. Have artists left CMG?
Yes.
Does that mean they were exploited? Not necessarily. In the music industry, artist-label relationships end for many reasons. The artist fulfills their contract and decides not to re-sign.
1.
Creative differences emerge. The artist wants to start their own label.
2.
Financial negotiations for a new deal don't work out.
3.
The artist's career isn't developing as expected.
4.
Most of these reasons are normal and not indicative of exploitation. Blac Youngsta is a good case study. He was signed to CMG from 2015 to 2020.
And he ran it up too. Shout out to Blac Youngsta, man. And he ran that up too. There's nothing bad to say. He had some hits that came from CMG, being with CMG during that time.
During that time, he released multiple projects and had modest commercial success. When his contract ended, he chose not to re-sign and went independent. Was he exploited? In interviews after leaving, he didn't say he was. He talked about wanting creative control and keeping a larger percentage of his revenue. That's a normal business decision, not an accusation of exploitation. If anything, the fact that artists can complete their contracts and leave on good terms suggests the contracts have reasonable terms and sunset clauses.
Let me ask y'all though about Blac Youngsta. He did leave CMG, but since he's left, have y'all seen a difference in his career compared to when he was with CMG? And that's what Yo Gotti is saying. Hey, you could go do 100%, but it ain't gonna be like if you give me 30. You know what I mean? So are y'all seeing a difference? Yeah, you're gonna get more money, you know what I mean? But you will get way more money if Gotti was involved. Yeah, you will give up some, but you're gonna make more than what you will make independent.
Rather than being perpetual traps. The fourth and most serious source of accusations involves Young Dolph's murder in 2021. For those who don't know, Young Dolph was a Memphis rapper who had a long-running beef with Yo Gotti and CMG artists. He was shot and killed in Memphis on November 17, 2021. In the aftermath, conspiracy theories spread online suggesting that Gotti or CMG were somehow involved. These theories have never been substantiated by any evidence, and 2 men were arrested and charged with Dolph's murder, neither of whom had any documented connection to CMG. But the conspiracy theories persist, and they've become part of the Yo Gotti is shady narrative that feeds accusations of him finessing artists. Let me be absolutely clear.
They always gonna keep that on Yo Gotti. Now, what we have seen with the people involved, the name that it gets led back to is Yo Gotti's brother, rest in peace, Jug. But you don't never hear them say Yo Gotti said it out his mouth what he wanted to happen. It always came from the brother, and you know, you could take that and run with it.
There is zero credible evidence linking Yo Gotti or CMG to Young Dolph's death. The case has been investigated by law enforcement. Arrests have been made. The people charged are not CMG employees or artists. Using an unsolved murder to build a conspiracy theory is not investigation. It's irresponsible speculation that dishonors Dolph's memory and spreads misinformation. Should this tragedy be mentioned in any discussion of Gotti's career? Yes, because it's part of Memphis hip-hop history and the environment in which these artists operated. But should it be used as evidence that Gotti is exploiting artists? Absolutely not. When you actually investigate the sources of the finessing accusations, a pattern emerges. 1. Misunderstanding of standard industry practices, 360 deals. 2. One artist who felt unsupported making social media complaints, Plain James. 3. Normal artist-label relationships ending, departures. 4. Conspiracy theories around a tragedy, Young Dolph. None of these constitute evidence of systematic exploitation or finessing in the sense that the rumors suggest.
You gotta think, out of all the artists CMG that ever had, if you only got one artist that came out and complained, that says a lot. Only one out of all the artists that have been with CMG? Come on, man. He's something wrong with him. He's just mad. everybody else is happy. Everybody else is cool. Everybody else, they had nothing else bad to say. So you don't want to take the responsibility of saying, hey, it was my music. Yeah, they might have did some stuff I didn't see eye to eye with. They may have did some stuff that they didn't fuck with. But for the most part, it starts with your music, bro. I don't even know who he is. Do y'all know?
Phase 5, the counter evidence. Why the rumors don't hold up. 35 minutes to 45 minutes. Now let's look at the evidence that actively contradicts the finessing narrative. Evidence 1, artist longevity and loyalty. If CMG were truly exploiting artists, you'd expect high turnover. Artists would fulfill the minimum contractual obligation and leave.
Right.
They'd badmouth the label publicly.
Right.
They'd warn other artists not to sign. But that's not what we see. Moneybagg Yo, signed 2016, still with CMG as of 2024. That's 8+ years.
Jeez.
42 Doug, signed 2019, still with CMG as of 2024. GloRilla, signed 2022, showing no signs of dissatisfaction. EST Gee, signed 2020, still with CMG. Blac Youngsta was with CMG for 5 years before going independent. A normal career progression, not an escape from exploitation.
Right.
This level of artist retention is actually unusual in the music industry, where most artist-label relationships are contentious and short-lived.
For sure.
Evidence 2, artists' public statements. When artists are unhappy with their labels, they usually make it known, either directly through diss tracks and interviews, or indirectly through social media posts and subtle comments. But CMG artists consistently praise Gotti publicly.
And that's a great sign, because we all know in today's time, the #1 go-to spot to air out a label and your grievances with them is X, aka Twitter. Every artist, when they're mad, they go straight there. They won't let me drop my music. Fuck woo-de-woo. They won't let me drop my... Blame them. This is the reason it's not coming out. Y'all ask them. Like, you know what I'm saying?
They talk about him as a mentor, not just a business partner. They credit him with their success. They defend him when outsiders criticize. Could they be contractually obligated to do this? It's theoretically possible, but unlikely. Plenty of artists under restrictive contracts still find ways to express dissatisfaction. The consistency and sincerity of CMG artist praise suggests it's genuine. Evidence 3, the business education focus. This is perhaps the strongest counter-evidence to the exploitation narrative. Multiple sources confirm that Gotti emphasizes financial literacy and business education with his artists. He requires them to get CPAS. He gives them business advice. He explains how the industry works. This is the opposite of what an exploitative executive would do. If you're trying to take advantage of artists, you want them confused and dependent. You want them signing documents they don't understand. You want them spending money recklessly so they stay in debt to the label. But Gotti's approach is to educate artists so they can make informed decisions. That's not exploitation. That's building long-term, sustainable partnerships. In interviews, Gotti doesn't hide the fact that CMG takes percentages of artists' revenue. He's transparent about how 360 deals work and why the label needs them to justify the investment. This transparency is unusual. Most label executives speak in vague terms about partnerships and mutual success without getting into specifics.
That is true.
Gotti will straight up say, yes, we take a percentage. Here's why.
And that's what you want, man. Transparency. So that way you don't leave, your expectations ain't too crazy. You know what I'm saying? You need to know what you're walking into. And that's on you as an artist to ask these questions, man. To know what you're walking into, to know what type of deal you're finna sign. You ask all the questions. There's no wrong question when you're about to sign away your career for a certain amount of years for a certain amount of money. I want to know everything possible that comes to my mind, and I need you to answer it before I sign this deal. Hey, so does this mean that I'm a woo-woo? So if I make this much money, how much if I do this, if I was to do this, can I do this? Figure it out. Nigga, everything is no wrong question when it's your fucking career online. Ask it all. And if Gotti doesn't hide it and he tells you everything, I feel comfortable doing business with him. Especially if it's answers that I fuck with.
Here's what you get in return. Here's the math that shows why this benefits you. Artists signing to CMG know what they're getting into. They're not being tricked or deceived. They're making informed business decisions. Evidence 5, industry comparisons. When you compare CMG's track record to other labels, both major labels and independent hip-hop labels, CMG actually comes out looking quite good. Think about all the horror stories you've heard about artists getting exploited. TLC going bankrupt despite
Right.
selling millions of records.
Right.
Lil Wayne's years-long legal battle with Cash Money.
Right.
Mace buying out his Bad Boy contract and calling Diddy out for exploitation. Dozens of artists on major labels who never see royalties despite commercial success. Have you heard similar stories about CMG artists? Number. The complaints about CMG are vague, he's finessing artists, rather than specific, he owes me X dollars in unpaid royalties, or he won't let me release music. That difference is significant. It suggests CMG is operating within normal industry standards, and possibly above them in terms of artist treatment. To fully understand whether Gotti is exploiting artists, we need to understand exactly how CMG makes money. Let's break down the actual business model. This is the most obvious revenue stream. When a CMG artist releases music, the label takes a percentage of the revenue from sales, streaming, and downloads. The specific percentage varies by artist and is negotiated in the contract, but industry standards for label deals typically range from 50 to 85% of recording revenue going to the label, with the artist keeping 15 to 50%. Those percentages sound terrible for artists, right?
Right.
The label is taking most of the money, but remember, the label is also covering all the costs.
That's the part people don't never want to acknowledge. You gotta listen, they're paying for everything up front. They're giving you an advance, and they're paying for radio, they're paying for this, they're paying for playlists and all that. Yeah, people pay for playlists. Yeah. It's crazy. But, you know what I mean? Allegedly. But hear me out. Like, we're gonna put up all this money, and then you're gonna complain and say, man, y'all getting all my shit. Bro, you didn't have nothing to put up. Just on one region, right? Let me just get a ballpark figure. Let's say West Coast. Just to do radio on West Coast, a slight campaign, $85,000. Just on the West Coast. So imagine when you're doing a national campaign, how much it costs. You as an artist is not going to put up that much money. You're not going to put up $300,000 to do a radio campaign because that's a risk. It's a risk. Nothing's going to say if I put up this money that my song is going to be a hit. This is a risk I'm taking. And that's what labels do. They take a risk. So you got to acknowledge what they do as well. Yeah, label has some good sides. They have some bad sides. You know what I mean? It's a give and take situation, but it is what you make it, man. You know, some shit works for others that don't work for others. You know what I mean?
Recording studios, producers, engineers, mixing, mastering, distribution, marketing, music videos, radio promotion, playlist pitching. All of this costs money.
All of that.
Often hundreds of thousands of dollars per project. The label's percentage has to cover all those costs before they see any profit.
Total that up.
If an album costs $200,000 to create and promote, and it generates $400,000 in revenue, the label made $200,000 in profit. But they're also taking all the financial risk. If the album flops and only generates $100,000, the label loses $100,000 while the artist loses nothing and still got their advance. This is basic business. Higher risk deserves higher reward. The label is risking hundreds of thousands of dollars on the chance that the artist succeeds. In exchange for taking that risk, they get a larger percentage of the revenue. Publishing is more complicated, but it's a significant revenue stream that's separate from recording revenue. Every time a song is played on the radio, streamed, used in a commercial, featured in a TV show or movie, performed live, or covered by another artist, publishing royalties are generated. Publishing rights are often split between the songwriter, the publisher, and sometimes the label. If CMG's contracts include publishing participation, they're getting a cut of these royalties in addition to recording revenue. Again, this is standard industry practice. Most major label deals include publishing participation. The question is CMG's participation percentage fair compared to industry standards? Based on the limited public information available, CMG's publishing splits appear to be within normal industry ranges.
All right.
They're not taking an unusually large percentage. They're taking what most labels take. This is where 360 deals become controversial. Historically, artists kept 100% of touring revenue, minus expenses, because labels didn't invest in touring. But under 360 deals, labels take a percentage of touring revenue.
Yeah, we need a piece of everything, because look how much money we putting up. And if your album flop, we supposed to take a L? A big L like that? If I put $400,000 into your album and your shit only make me back $100,000, I just lost 300,000. Damn, that's how you feel. Now, what if the shoes was reversed? The roles was reversed, and that was your money. You would want to make your money back. So, hey, let me get some of your merchandise. Let me get some of your publishing. Let me get some of your touring. Let me get some of your shows. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? I don't think so. Now, if you're saying let me get 100% of everything, now that's crazy. But if it's like a decent percentage, let me get 20% of that, 20% of that, 20% of that. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Typically 10 to 20%. Is this fair? It depends on what the label does to support touring. If the label is just taking a percentage without providing any value, that's arguably exploitative.
That's different.
But if the label is helping book tours, providing tour support, funding that helps cover the high upfront costs of touring, and leveraging their relationships to get artists on better tours and festivals, then their percentage is justified.
Exactly.
Based on
exactly. And, you know, doing radio while you're on a rate. While I'm on tour, making sure you hit these radio stations, promoting your album, promoting your song, promoting this, making sure we got people coming, you know what I mean? Using our resources to help you with a better, calling this artist out to come on your show. Just all kind of shit that's showing support while you're on this road and you don't feel alone. Yeah, that's cool. I'll give up 10%.
artist statements, CMG appears to actively support touring. They help with tour logistics, provide advance funding, and use their industry connections to get artists better placement on tours and festivals. Under traditional deals, artists kept 100% of merchandise revenue. Under 360 deals, labels take 10 to 25%. Same question, is CMG providing value that justifies their percentage?
Yes.
If they're helping design merchandise, funding production, managing online stores, and negotiating endorsement deals, then yes. If they're just taking a cut without providing support, then no. The evidence suggests CMG does provide merchandising support, though the extent varies by artist. Revenue stream. 5. Catalog appreciation through streaming. This is a long-term revenue stream that's often overlooked. As streaming continues to grow globally, older music becomes more valuable. Songs from 5 or 10 years ago can generate revenue indefinitely through streaming. If CMG owns or co-owns artists' masters, they benefit from this catalog appreciation. Every year, those old songs generate revenue with zero additional investment required. This is actually one of the most valuable aspects of owning a label. The initial investment in an artist might not be profitable for 2 to 3 years, but over a 10 to 20 year period, the catalog can generate millions in profit with minimal ongoing costs. When you add up all these revenue streams, you can see how CMG can be valued at hundreds of millions of dollars while still treating artists fairly. Let's do hypothetical math on a successful CMG artist. Recording revenue, $2 million per year. CMG takes 65% equals $1.3 million. Publishing revenue, $500,000 per year. CMG takes 40% equals $200,000. Touring revenue, $3 million per year. CMG takes 15% equals $450,000. Merchandise, $300,000 per year. CMG takes 20% equals $60,000. In this scenario, CMG makes about $2 million per year from one successful artist, while the artist still takes home over $2 million themselves. Multiply that across 10 plus artists on the roster, add in catalog revenue from older releases, and you can reach $500 million in total label valuation while every artist on the roster is still making good money.
And there's other ways they're going to be making money on top of that they didn't incorporate in right here. So you make a lot of money. As you can see, everybody from CMG looks like they're eating. They don't look broke. They don't look like they're struggling. They doing damn good if you ask me. But let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think, man. Let me know what y'all think. I think Yo Gotti is a great boss. I haven't seen nobody complain, which makes me feel that way. Until I see otherwise, then I'll start saying that. I think everybody thought Birdman was a great boss up until you started seeing people complaining. Because the perception was there. Everybody was rich. Everybody was young money. Everybody was fly. Everybody had jewelry. Everybody had money. Until you started seeing, hey, I ain't get paid. Producers coming out. I ain't get paid. I ain't get paid. Hell, I was one of the producers that didn't get paid from Birdman. Birdman, I want my goddamn money, man. Still ain't paid us, man.
This is how the math works. It's not exploitation, it's business. Phase 7, Beyond Music, the broader empire. To fully understand Yo Gotti's wealth and whether it comes from finessing artists, we need to look at his revenue streams outside of CMG. Because here's what the rumors miss. CMG is only one part of Gotti's business empire. Remember those early lessons about property taxes and cash flow management? Gotti learned from those mistakes and became a much more sophisticated real estate investor.
There you go.
By the 2020s, he had rebuilt a significant real estate portfolio in Memphis and other cities. Unlike his early mistakes where he overextended himself, he now structures his real estate investments carefully with proper financial planning and professional management. Real estate provides steady cash flow, appreciates over time, and diversifies his wealth beyond the volatile music industry. This is smart wealth management, not artist exploitation. In 2023, Gotti opened Privy, an upscale restaurant in Memphis. This isn't just a vanity project, it's a legitimate business that generates revenue and creates jobs in his community. The restaurant business is risky and difficult, but it provides another revenue stream and builds his brand beyond music.
I did hear that about the restaurant business, man. That's why I was like, everybody who I know who started like a restaurant business, long run, it didn't end well. That's one thing I can't say. Like, people, I do have different people who I know who started restaurants. And about 5 years, less than 10 years, they be done and it'd be like, it wasn't worth it or it was too much. And when you think about it, you're dealing with a lot of different people, food, a lot could go wrong in that kitchen. Food could spoil, chefs could, you gotta think when you be like, I don't want this, send it back, it's not done, like how much food be wasted, how much money, and when you waste that, that's money. How much money is wasted on people like just small shit like that, that's a small piece of the problem. You know what I mean? People not happy about the food. You just wasted this goddamn steak. You just wasted this hamburger. You just wasted this, that, and now you're throwing away $20. You're throwing away $100. You're throwing away this, and you're just throwing away money.
In 2022, Gotti became a minority owner of DC United, a Major League Soccer team.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This is a significant investment. MLS ownership stakes are worth millions of dollars and require serious capital. This ownership stake provides long-term appreciation potential as MLS continues to grow, and it positions Gotti in elite business circles beyond hip-hop.
I did not know that.
Gotti has
That's tight.
made investments in various tech companies, including FaZe Clan, a major esports organization.
Oh, I know that.
These investments show sophisticated wealth management, diversifying into growth sectors that have nothing to do with music. When you add up CMG's value, real estate holdings, restaurant ownership, sports ownership, and tech investments,
Nigga's a boss.
you get to that $500 million figure that people cite.
Nigga's a boss.
But notice, most of this wealth doesn't come from CMG artists at all. It comes from smart investing, business diversification, and long-term wealth building. So when people say Gotti made $500 million finessing artists, they're fundamentally misunderstanding where his wealth comes from.
Right.
CMG is important, but it's one piece of a much larger financial puzzle. There's another aspect of Gotti's career that contradicts the exploitation narrative, his social impact work and community investment.
There we go.
In 2020,
Let's talk
Gotti
about
was
it.
involved in filing a lawsuit against the Mississippi State Penitentiary, Parchman Prison, over inhumane conditions. He used his platform and resources to support criminal justice reform efforts. This isn't something a purely mercenary executive would do. Criminal justice reform doesn't make money. It actually makes enemies in certain political circles. But Gotti did it anyway because of his background and his understanding of how the criminal justice system impacts communities like the one he came from.
For sure.
He's also invested in Memphis through community programs, youth initiatives, and economic development projects. Again, these aren't profit-maximizing activities. They're community investment. Does this mean he's a saint? Number. Does it mean every business deal he makes is perfectly fair? Number. But it does suggest that his motivations are more complex than simple exploitation.
Right.
To complete our investigation, we need to hear from other industry executives who know Gotti and understand how labels operate. While researching this video, I looked at interviews and statements from other label executives, artist managers, and industry insiders. The consistent message is, Gotti is respected in the industry.
And that's what I'm saying. People respect Gotti. Nobody has nothing bad to say about Gotti. Let me know again in the comment section if you have seen anybody to this point that have came out and just bashed him over being a terrible executive. That I haven't seen. So salute to Gotti. You're doing your thing. You're a boss, and people are always gonna assume, oh, you're making all this money from GloRilla. Oh, you're making all this, and they're gonna put your whole success on one person. Like, what about all the other shit he got going that got him to this point that you overlooking or that you just don't know about? You know what I mean? So sometimes you just gotta shut the fuck up and sit back and research and learn before you speak.
He's known as someone who keeps his word, treats artists fairly, and runs a professional operation. Kevin Liles, former CEO of Def Jam and current CEO of 300 Entertainment, has praised Gotti's business acumen publicly. Liar Cohen, YouTube's global head of music and former label executive, has mentioned CMG as an example of the new generation of labels that are doing things right. These aren't random people, these are industry veterans who've seen every type of label operation. If CMG were genuinely exploitative, they'd know, and they wouldn't be praising it publicly. So, after investigating all the evidence, interviewing sources,
Yes.
examining contracts
What do you say?
to the extent they're public, analyzing business models, and comparing CMG to industry standards, what's the verdict?
What's the verdict?
Accusations that Yo Gotti built his empire by exploiting or finessing young artists
False.
are not supported by credible evidence.
No.
What we found instead, standard industry contracts that are comparable to or better than other labels. Transparent communication about deal terms.
Respect.
Artists who consistently praise the label and stay for many years.
Respect.
Education and financial literacy programs for signed artists.
Respect.
Individual attention and resources allocated to each artist's development.
Respect.
Fair business practices that balance label investment with artist opportunity.
Respect.
Yes, CMG uses 360 deals.
I
but
fuck with it.
They're transparent about it.
There you go, man. They're transparent about it. Yo Gotti, you doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing. Don't let these haters block you, man. Salute to Yo Gotti for creating bosses, for being transparent with artists, teaching them the game, and making sure they're not out here just being goofy with their money, making sure they're out here set the fumble and taking advantage of them. So you got to respect that. Like, again, everybody who I see is bosses in this shit. Shout out to Moneybagg Yo, shout out GloRilla, shout out EST Gee, shout out 42 Doug. They all doing their thing. Shout out Blac Youngsta. You know what I mean? I think he's gonna create even more stars and create more bosses as we, see him grow and CMG grow in this thing, man. They doing their thing. I think CMG is not as successful as Cash Money, but they would be right next behind as a great example of somebody with multiple artists that's doing a great job as a label exec. So salute to CMG. Let me know what y'all think about Yo Gotti though, man. Let me know if y'all think he's full of shit. He's taking advantage. He's leeching off his artists. Or y'all think he's great. He's a great executive. He's a great boss. He's a great example. And he doing his thing, man. Let me know in the comment section right now. I'm gonna give y'all 2 seconds to smash the like. And as always, get ready for the next reaction.